Hey guys, that pedal show here for NAMM 2016 with Andertons TV, and we're checking out the J Rockett audio design pedals. Obviously, we've been fans of these pedals for a long time. We featured it on the show. So what do we have new for 2016?
Well, I think it's a total of 8 pedals here.
Wow.
We've got, what is it, the 4, the Dude, the 2 Archers, and the Boeing have been out for a little bit. And then on the very end here, we introduced this little transistor buffer, which kind of cleans everything up, keeps the signal nice. But it's got a little knob that you can kind of dial in the high end. Sometimes it can get a little strident with certain things, so you can kind of tweak it. The 45 caliber was really focused on trying to get AC/DC all the way around, Malcolm and Angus. It's very alive, based on, let's just call it an early JTM 45.
Give us some schwang, Mick. Very nice. Okay.
That's winging it.
And then the GTO.
The GTO is the new Guthrie Trap overdrive.
Okay.
Not playing any Guthrie Trap. Have you seen him play the guitar?
Yeah, it's crazy. So it's kind of like, it's not a Noble circuit, which is kind of real famous down in Nashville. You know, it's I don't even know how to describe it. Really warm, smooth overdrive. He wanted something to complement the brightness of his telly pickup, but he does play everything, and it runs the full gamut, but it's got a real nice mid-range. He always had the problem with the Nobles not cutting through the mix, so this, hopefully we address that. So he likes it a lot.
Very nice.
Guthrie stank on it.
Okay.
Okay, then we'll skip Archer, Dude, Archer.
Yep.
The Hooligan, we wanted to simplify the WTF fuzz. So that's really what it is. We tweaked it a little bit so that it sat right in the middle of its EQ range, so it could work with a multitude of amps, because sometimes fuzzes can be bright depending on the amp you have. So that's really what it is. So it'll do that nasty awesomeness that I love.
That's really lovely. I'm hearing some overtones in there. Really nice. Really nice.
It sags a lot, which is really cool on that initial note.
Okay, very excited about this next pedal. Okay. I think, as I'm sure you are, Mick. This is the take on the steel string singer SRV type.
Yeah, we had thought about originally trying to come out with something that gave you that steel string singer sound, to kind of complement the 80s overdrive special sound. But we thought, well, that's just a big loud clean amp. That's just not going to do you much good. So we tried to find a scenario where that steel string singer, made a specific tone, and so that's the one we could think of. Stevie Ray Vaughan, because he just wanted loud and pushed, and just the way he pushed it, and the pedals that he used in front of it just created a certain mid-range, a chime, a cut, everything. And we tried to do that as best we could, because I've played steel string singers, and that's what they sound like to me. It's just this really rich mid-range, and if you push them, they just start singing, right? There you go. So
Beautiful. Is there a specific amplifier this has been designed to work with? Because so we've got the boost control and a treble control, but are you working any sort of amplifier, 6L6s, ER34s?
It will, because it's a really powerful tone control. So if you're in an amp, like this one's pretty bright.
Right.
So if you're in an amp that's bright, obviously you can adjust for it, but you don't lose the feel, which is nice. And it's got a lot of headroom.
Okay.
And it's been designed too so that it can work with other low gain overdrives as though you're hitting the front end of that, like you're hitting the front end of an amp.
Okay.
So like in conjunction with the blue note's pretty low gain.
Yep.
But if your blue note's, your rhythm, and you want to jump into a lead that has a nice mid cut, it does a really good job of just pinpointing that.
Okay. Just have some swang on the blue note, and then we'll kick the Lemmy in. Now jump on the Lemmy. Cool.
I could use that.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. The Tranquilizer.
Tranquilizer. Okay.
Very cool.
Yeah, it was an interesting design because it started out one way and we're like, oh, we need this feature or we need that feature. It started out as we wanted to recreate an old Phase 45. We always preferred the subtlety of a Phase 45 compared to a 90, but it always had limitations. You couldn't control the speed, you couldn't control, it was just on or off. So it's got a speed control, it's got a fat control so you can compensate for single coils and humbuckers. And we put the bias control on the outside so you can really fine tune how it turns around. So it can be choppy or really smooth. And then out of that circuit was born the vibe circuit. So it's got a slight pitch vibe to it. And it's all controlled on one knob. So all the way to the left would be full phaser. All the way to the right would be full vibe, no phaser. And anything in between would be a blend of the two. And it's very subtle, but it's really interesting. So you can get like that old, I don't even know if they used a Phase 45, but that old Nazareth type slow phase, right? But then you can get univibe sounds and Leslie sounds and anything you can tweak in between. This is a pedal that'll take a little experimentation, but it'll do a lot.
You play, I'll mix.
You hit it with the Lenny. We call it the focus control, but it's got a limited range where you just have to find that sweet spot. So if you go too far left, it'll kind of just shut off, or too far right. But we wanted that to be a feature that anybody could use, because you can get unique tones that way, which is great.
Now finally, I've wanted to ask you about this pedal for a while. There's lots and lots of new digital reverbs that do all manner of wonderful things. And it's very few dedicated spring reverb pedals, right? So tell us about the Boing, because I'm quite excited about this.
Well, you know, I hate to admit how old we are, but we grew up with amps that just had one knob that said reverb, right? And that's where some of the greatest tones came from back in the day, and that's what we wanted to recreate. And The only issue that we were having is that if you put it in front of an amp that has a high gain input, it's going to get all splashy and farty. So we made it so that it could be really, really subtle, so that you can use it with amps that have a lot of oomph at the front end, but it works in loops, and that's all we wanted to do, because there's so many pedals out there digitally that will recreate, you know, plate reverbs and all the crazy studio reverbs, but you can't hear those very well when you play live. So we wanted something that was just really noticeable live, that gave you anywhere from a subtle spring reverb to that 50s splash. And we built in a nice little treble circuit in there to make it a little bit more realistic versus some of the typical digital ones. So it's not going to be as pretty, but it's going to be effective when you play it live.
It's really hard to hear in here because so the amp's in a little isolation crate there, and every bass player in the world and drummer is playing an 8-string solo at this
They're all
point.
jamming at once. It's amazing.
But that sounds like spring reverb to me.
Fantastic. Well, this has been a real joy. Thank you very much for your time. All right, guys, signing off, and we'll see you soon.